is just kind of walk around and look at some of the different winter annual weeds that are present here on campus. So,
Black medic is in the legume family, such as white clover. A lot of people may look at this plant and think it's a white clover plant, but it's a trifoliate leaf. And the other thing that's really distinctive about it is the serrated margins towards the outer edge. And then the center petiole, to the center leaflet, is a little bit longer than the other two. The photograph here is illustrating, and what we're trying to illustrate is the flower color. It's yellow, kind of globular, I guess. It's where it comes multiple flowers on the tip here. And when we look at black medic, as the plant continues to mature, it will form these pods, these seed pods that we see here, and then eventually turn black in color. Therefore, the name black medic. The plant is tap-rooted and will be actively grown in the spring. Common chickweed is present in fall-seeded lawn areas or areas that have been thinned out. It has opposite leaf arrangement, and then the leaves are more of an ovate shape to them. As we go into the season, into the spring period, you'll notice a white flower that begins to develop. And this white flower consists of 5 notched petals, which makes it very distinctive in identifying it as our common chickweed. Now, there is also another chickweed species out there, which is known as mouseear chickweed, and once again, it has a very, very similar type of flower as the common chickweed.
okay, I have a sample here. This is known as mouseear chickweed. What's kind of characteristic with mouseear chickweed is the leaf arrangement, which is described as a opposite leaf arrangement. I don't know if we can focus in. If you look on the stem and on the leaves, there's a lot of hair on the leaves of the mouseear. Okay, the 2 weed samples that I have here are in the mint family, and one is known as Henbit, which is on my right-hand side as you look at the camera, and then on the left-hand side is what's called purple deadnettle. They both are in the mint family. One of the characteristics of any of the plants in the mint family is the fact that the stems, if you take a look at the stem down here, it's 4-sided, or almost like square as far as when it comes up.
Purple deadnettle is very similar to Henbit, as the previous video clip showed. One of the differences between the two is the shape of the leaves, where this tends to be more narrow towards the tip of the leaf. And then the other thing would be the presence of a short petiole on the upper portion of the leaf. When we take a look at our purple deadnettle, the younger leaves also tend to be a little bit more purple in color as they're emerging from the top. And then we have these tubular flowers, these purple tubular flowers. The sample that we have here is Henbit, and if we look closely at the leaves, they tend not to be coming to the point. They have what we call a tooth margin to them. And this photograph also is illustrating this difference in the leaf shape between Henbit and purple deadnettle. Both the plants will produce this kind of purple, pink, I call trumpet-like flower that's down in the leaf axil, or is emerging from the leaf axil of the plant. Redstem filaree is a winter annual weed that is common here in the Maryland area. It tends to have somewhat of a prostrate to semi-erect growth habit to it. Produces a pink to purple flower, 5-petaled, as we see here that the photograph is illustrating. And then the leaves are finely divided, dissected. But the other important characteristic is the presence of hair that you see on the stems, on the leaves, and even on the seed pod. Another name for this plant is known as crane's bill or stork's bill, and that describes this very elongated seed pod that forms as the plant develops into the spring.
The sample I have here is Sheperdspurse. It's also a one of the mustards, similar to yellow rocket. It's in the same family. This one.
The lower leaves of Sheperdspurse form what we call a rosette, or basal rosette, as they form, and the leaves are highly lobed or divided and stay towards the base of the plant. The smaller leaves that we see on the upper portion of the stem tend to clasp onto the stem. When the plant begins to flower, we have a white flower, and then the formation of what is called a shepherd's purse, which is the seed pod that you see here. When Speedwell begins to flower, as you can see here, it's almost like a sea of blue, and it's very easy to identify it as Speedwell. The plant will continue to flower through the spring, and as you can see here, this small blue flower is four-petaled, blue towards the outer edge and white towards the center. The overall growth characteristics is a creeping type of growth characteristic for Speedwell.
The University of Maryland, and we're actually across from our practice football field area on a slope that leads up to the practice soccer and lacrosse field, and it's an area that thins out through the, we can't maintain a good turf grass density, and with that we see a lot of different kinds of weeds, both winter annual weeds and some of our perennial type weeds that are present here. So we have some of our winter annual weeds that are located down in the slope area here. I'm going to go down and take a look at some of the different ones that we have. I'm just going to pull up, take a look. This one right here is known as wild geranium or cranesbill, and once again kind of very distinctive leaf shape that we have.
The sample here is known as wild geranium. Another name is called Carolina geranium, and another name based on the seed pod is known as cranesbill or storksbill. The finely divided leaves are lobed into 5 to 8 lobes. It will produce a purple to lavender flower that's 5-petaled and quite showy in the spring of the year. The plant will continue to develop a seed pod, and the seed pods give its common name known as storksbill or cranesbill. And this sample is similar to what we've seen with regards to the Redstem filaree that was shown earlier in the video.
The sample that we have here is yellow rocket. It's considered to be one of our fairly common winter annual weeds. It's in the mustard family.
Yellow rocket is an erect growing winter annual weed that can get to 1 to 2 feet in height and very noticeable along roadsides during the spring of the year. It will produce this very distinctive yellow flower. In addition, we have this basal leaf which has a terminal lobe and is characteristic for our yellow rocket.